Hello all, welcome to Universal Group of Institutions, Bengaluru. Welcome to our very special and unique series of reinterpretation of NCRTs. In my previous videos, we have discussed chapter number 1 and chapter number 2. In this particular video session, we are going to start with a new chapter, that is the poverty as a challenge. See, since the economic reforms of 1991, that is the year in which India opened its economy, where we carried out a reforms called as the LPG reforms, liberalization, privatization, and the globalization. So, in the almost 35 years, India had seen unprecedented economic growth. Okay, even in comparison with the Western Europe or the North American countries. And India and China have collectively uplifted more than a billion people from the poverty, but still a significant proportion of people are living below poverty line. In this particular video session, we are going to discuss what are the causes of the poverty and what are the concept of called as the social exclusion and the vulnerability, and how social exclusion impacts the poverty as well. The chapter starts with explaining the two cases. One, the case of poverty in the urban area, that is where the Ram Saran works as a daily wage laborer. There is one more case of the rural case, the Lakha Singh, who is of a state of a UP. I mean, using both these stories, they are trying to explain the lives of the poor people. So there comes a question: what causes the poverty? So, if you look at the causes of the poverty, there are many causes to the poverty. The first cause of poverty happens to be the historical causes. You are already aware, India had been the colony of the British for the nearly 200 years. India, they used to call India as a Sone ki chidiya. Okay. Now, they exploited the Indian resources, all the raw materials used to supply to the Britain. So the finished goods used to enter into the India. So the wealth from India drained to the Britain. There is one estimation that estimates that during the time of the British, I mean, if you have to calculate in today's value, I mean, the drain of wealth is estimated nearly $45 trillion. You can imagine the amount of wealth that was drained from India to the Britain. Okay, so the colonial exploitation drained the India's wealth through the policies like a drain of wealth and the destruction of indigenous industries. Indigenous industries were destroyed, but there were no capital goods industries that were established by the British. Next, the land revenue policies like Zamindar, Mahalwari, and the Raitwari that have left the farmers as more poor rather than making farmers as a prosperous. That means the agricultural industry, the agriculture as a sector was destroyed by the British. So the agricultural growth during the time of the British was a stagnant. Lack of industrialization and the education during the time of the British had limited the social mobility as well. So this is the first cause. Second, what are the economic causes? There is a low capital formation. India's savings and investment rates remained low for decades, slowing the productive growth. We know very clearly the savings and investment plays a very important role with regard to the capital formation. Unemployment and underemployment. We see a significant people of India unable to find a jobs. I mean, the individual who is working in a job role that requires less skill than what he possesses, there is the underemployment, as well as the unequal distribution. That means the look at the story of in the last 35 years itself. I mean, we have seen an unprecedented growth, but that has we see a not a inclusive growth. Rather, the wealth has concentrated in a very few hands, or only few, I mean, a small proportion of the population got benefited due to this economic growth. Then there is agrarian distress. Even to the day, nearly 48% of the population still depends upon the agriculture. If the agriculture itself is not a profitable business, that means the individuals, the families that are depending upon them will be vulnerable to the poverty. Inflation and price rise increases the cost of living for the poor, reducing the real wages and the purchasing power. Next one happens to be the social causes. There is the caste system and the social hierarchy that has restricted the occupation of the a significant proportion of the people, that has also restricted the access to the education during the time of the British. I mean, the gender inequality, women face lower wages, unpaid care burdens. Look at about our mothers, who is taking care of the entire family but still are not paid anything. Limited property rights to the women. Illiteracy and the lack of awareness is also the cause of the poverty, because it reduces the good opportunities which can pay you a decent salary. Demographic causes, the high population growth, or large population is going to add a significant pressure on the land as well as the economic resources as well. Dependency ratios, higher number of dependents related to the working population reduces the per capita income as well. If you look at the political and the governance factors, the leakages in the welfare delivery, poor targeting, and the bureaucratic delays, that is red tapeism. If you go by the words of the former Prime Minister, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, he said that, to deliver a 3 rupee, to deliver a 1 rupee to the poor, the government is spending a 3 rupee. You can imagine the unprecedented level of corruption that exists in India. So rather than, ideally, corruption also exists in China, but corruption in China has made China's economic system as efficient, but ours as the inefficient. So the weak implementation of the poverty elevation program, because right benefits are not being given to the right beneficiaries. So bogus beneficiaries that we see, the regional imbalances, states like Bihar, states like Uttar Pradesh, states like West Bengal. We see they have failed to catch the train of the post 1991 economic reforms. As a result, we see a significant proportion of poor people are living. We used to call such states as the Bimaru. Okay, even though they are no longer a Bimaru, that is the Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and the Uttar Pradesh. Then the environmental and climatic factors are also can be cause for the poverty. Natural disasters like droughts, floods, cyclones push vulnerable groups to back to the poverty. Climate change reduces the agricultural yield, so it impacts the small farmers or the marginal farmer, increases the migration, so worsens the rural hardship as well. It also degrades. The degradation of soil erosion is going to reduces the soil quality or the fertility of the soil. Water quality also impacts the soil fertility as well. Some of the last causes, that is the global and structural causes. See, we see right now, a kind of a recession is ticking. It's uh, depression is a ticking time bomb, we can say. We see a slowness with regard to the Western European countries. Look at Portugal, look at Italy, look at Germany. We see a slowness in those countries. So we see more and more countries are also protecting themselves. We see a rise of protectionism. So we see the reversal of the globalization. That can also be one of the cause. Because globalization has benefited only a segment of population which is skilled, mainly in the urban areas. Technological divide, automation, and digital gaps exclude the informal and the rural workers. Debt and inequality traps, because the rising cost of credit and the formal credit channels failing to deliver it to the a small significant proportion of people, they will be depending upon the informal credit channel. So these are some of the causes of poverty. Let us quickly look at what exactly is the concept of a social exclusion and vulnerability. See, what is as the name itself says, social exclusion means denying individuals or groups the equal access to opportunities, resources, and rights that are available to others in the society. That means the facilities that are available to others are not being extended to them, opportunities are not being extended to them, benefits are not being extended to them. Very easy to remember. FOB, facilities, opportunities, and the benefits. So, what it creates? It creates a barrier to the participation in economic, social, cultural, and the political life. For example, caste discrimination, gender bias, and the poverty based exclusion, the marginalization that is being seen in the tribal groups as well. So, what are the dimensions of the social exclusion? That means where we're excluding economic exclusion that involves denial of employment, income, productive assets. Take a look example of the women itself. Even though she is working as hard as a man, but the wages for them happens to be very low. Social exclusion that includes the discrimination in education, health, housing, community participation. Political exclusion that is seen in the lack of representation or voice in the decision making. There is a concern saying that the Muslims who represents 14% of the population. Okay, I mean, if you look at their representation in the legislative assembly, whether in terms of the parliament, that is declining. Look at women, look at even with regard to the other socio-economic groups as well. So the political exclusion is also one kind of the social exclusion. Cultural exclusion appears through stereotyping, stigmatization of identities, languages, or the lifestyle. So these are the four types. Let us look at what is a vulnerability. Someone who is at a great risk, refers to the risk or livelihood of being harmed due to the exposure to the adverse situation. So how does it arises? It results from a limited coping capacity, and the structural disadvantages often overlap with the socially excluded one, such as women, children, elderly person with a disability, SC, ST. So we see that both the social exclusion and vulnerability or the causes of the poverty as well. So what causes the vulnerability? It may be the historical marginalization, it may be the unequal social hierarchy, it may be the low education which is hindering to the social mobility, poor health, lack of social security. So what will be the consequence of these? So I mean, all these, both social exclusion and vulnerability reinforce the poverty cycle, because facilities, opportunities, and benefits are not being extended to them. Their ability, to earn, their ability to learn gets diminished. If I have a, if I'm a poor, rather than attending, I mean, rather than sending my child to the school, I would like my child to be working in the, farm, because for me that income is very very important. So that's it in this particular video session, where we have looked at way in a very detailed one the causes of poverty. We looked at the economic causes, we looked at the political causes, we looked at the structural causes at the global level, how the globalization is also one of the cause for the poverty as well, how the not achieving a inclusive growth is also one of the cause of the poverty. Then we looked at the social exclusion and the vulnerability. So do like, do share, do subscribe to our channel. Do let us know if you have any concern in the comment section as well. Thank you.